Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Hello everyone and welcome to another comic book review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Black Cat, Volume 1, Grand Theft Marvel. This one is written by Jed MacKay with art by Travel Foreman. We begin our story with Felicia Hardy doing what she does best, infiltrating a high society party at an art museum so that she and her crew can pull off a heist. Despite interference from both the party's security and the New York City branch of the Thieves Guild, who she's on the outs with, Felicia and her crew manage to come out on top and return to her hideout to celebrate. However, their celebration is interrupted by the Black Fox, another notorious thief in the Marvel Universe, who recruits Black Cat and her crew for an eventual heist of the most impenetrable vault of all, the vault of the New York Thieves Guild. In order to prepare for such an ambitious operation, the Black Fox sends Black Cat on a series of smaller heists to steal objects that will allow them to crack the Thieves Guild's vault. First of all, I'd like to say that I quite enjoyed this story. It didn't blow my mind or anything, but I am intrigued enough to continue reading this series moving forward. Felicia Hardy has always been one of my favorite characters from the supporting cast of Spider-Man, the Kevin Smith-Terry Dodson miniseries, where we find out that Felicia was a rape survivor who channeled her desire for revenge against her college boyfriend into honing her martial skills so that she would never be a victim again. Added a really tragic and interesting dimension to her character, in my view, and I've always wanted a series which expanded more on her backstory. Thankfully, this series gave me exactly what I wanted in that regard, with some fun adventures where Felicia and her crew steal from some of the most secure places in the Marvel Universe. Jed MacKay, who is a writer I'm not familiar with, I have to admit, does a great job with Felicia's characterization here, and I think that's the thing that made me enjoy this story so much. Felicia is a sassy and confident woman. She lives for the thrill of being a thief. When she's on the job, Felicia is always a few steps ahead of everyone else in the room. She's a woman with a good heart, but she's also, damn it, she has a dark side to her as well. MacKay balances all of these aspects of Felicia's personality pretty well, in my opinion. The first issue's opening is pure Black Cat greatness. Felicia's at a high society party where she's gracefully executing her plan to steal a painting, sort of like the female James Bond. Eventually, the heist turns into a car chase where the museum security and the Thieves Guild are after her, and she manages to outsmart all of them. Back at her hideout, we get a glimpse into her relationship with the crew as well, and we see that she genuinely cares for these people. She's quick to credit all three of them for their recent successes. She rags on Boris's music taste like a friend would, and she refers to them as her boys in a sort of loving way. Scenes like this really drive home that despite her profession and willingness to do just about anything to get what she wants, Felicia really does have a good heart deep down. Felicia is a woman that was once in love with Peter Parker, after all. If Felicia hadn't been afraid of settling down, she may have gotten married to him. In this story, we also get glimpses into Felicia's days before she was the Black Cat and see some of the dark things in her past that have led her to a life of crime. For example, we see Felicia getting into fights at a women's prison where she's serving time. And we also see her learning some hard lessons from the Black Fox about how the thieves' life is not for the faint of heart. We also see MacKay display Felicia's main character flaw, which is that her good heart very often conflicts with her willingness to use her beauty, cunning, and charm to manipulate other people and get whatever she wants. The last two issues of this story see Felicia attempting to steal a book from Reed Richards' library, and her ticket into the Fantastic Four's home is manipulating Johnny Storm into letting her inside for what she calls an intimate lunch. After Felicia's plan spirals wildly out of control, Ocampo, the head of the art museum security detail that Felicia robs in the first issue, who becomes a recurring character, calls Felicia out on how she often uses people like playthings and discards them when she no longer has any use for them. She has a moment of self-reflection and gains a level of respect for Ocampo for challenging her on her behavior. I really think that MacKay has a great voice for this character, understands what makes her tick, and that really excites me. I've always wanted a Black Cat series that digs into her character in a real way, and I think we may have the beginning of one here. The first issue also has an 8-page backup feature which tells the story of how Felicia's father, Walter Hardy, and the Black Fox robbed Dracula in Miami many years ago, and it's really fun. Walter is, of course, one of the most important figures in Felicia's life, and he dies in the first 2-issue story where the Black Cat is introduced in the 70s. It was really interesting to see him in his prime here, and since the Black Fox and the daughter of the other member of Walter and the Fox's crew is the father of the main antagonist of this story, I have a feeling that we'll be delving more into this history, which is really exciting. I also quite liked the supporting cast members of this book. The Black Fox works well as the sort of wise old thief mentor, but I also really liked Boris and Bruno, the 2 members of Black Cat's crew in this story, quite a bit. Boris is my favorite because he's just hilarious. He's the type of character that could become grating if he's not written well, but I thought he had some of the funniest lines in the entire book. He's extremely quirky. Like, apparently his Richard III performance almost caused a prison riot because it was so good. His favorite type of music to listen to is metal machine music. And he refuses to acknowledge that Johnny Storm is the real Human Torch because he's a devoted fan of Jim Hammond, the original android Human Torch. I thought he was really funny and one of the highlights of the entire story. Bruno was a bit less funny. He does get some funny bits regarding his Elvis obsession, but he's sort of that lovable brute kind of character who has an unwavering loyalty to Felicia, which I really liked. In my view, McKay did a great job here, making characters with distinct voices that were welcome additions to the story. The plot that the characters here inhabit is also super fun. Black Cat and her crew venture to steal things from famous Marvel locations like the Sanctum Sanctorum, which was really cool. McKay uses these adventures to flesh out the culture of the thieving underground in the Marvel Universe by delving into how thieves handle stealing from magical locations, for example, which was really interesting. He also brings in obscure Marvel villains like Xander the Merciless, who apparently appeared in 1 issue of Doctor Strange in the mid-70s, which is super fun. Overall, I'd have to say that while I wasn't absolutely floored by the writing here, I thought that McKay did a good job and intrigued me enough to keep reading. I am admittedly both a gigantic Spider-Man and Black Cat fan, so he's probably preaching to the choir here a bit. But I thought he had a really great handle on Felicia's character, introduced a fun supporting cast, explored and hinted at more backstory developments for Black Cat, which I've always wanted, and wrapped all of that up in a fun heist romp in interesting locations from Marvel lore. If you're a Spider-Man and/or Black Cat fan, I don't think you'll be disappointed by picking this one up. The art here by Travel Foreman is pretty good. The only thing I've ever read from him before this is the New 52 Animal Man stories that Jeff Lemire was writing over at DC back then. I think his style works pretty well here. I just would have maybe preferred someone with a cleaner, less gritty look for this one, because it is at the end of the day a fun action-adventure romp kind of a story. His best stuff is the 2-issue story, where Black Cat and her crew are in the Sanctum Sanctorum, though. He excels at bringing the kind of Ditko-esque weirdness to life. I honestly wish they'd start a new Doctor Strange series and put him on that. He'd be great for that kind of a book. All in all, I would definitely recommend Black Cat Volume 1 Grand Theft Marvel. As a longtime Spider-Man fanatic and Black Cat fan, I was very pleased to see a writer handling Felicia that really seems to understand her character. If you like Black Cat, I think you'll like this. It's a pretty good story. Alright, so let me know what you guys thought of Black Cat Grand Theft Marvel if you've read it before, and if not, let me know what you thought of my review. The feedback really helps me improve my videos. Alright, thanks for watching guys, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a good day. Bye.